Yo, 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 what is up, guys? A hair reveal. Man, we're fresh, back for the stream today. Guys, it's good to be back here on the stream with all of you. Thank you for showing up. It is 18th of September. It's a Thursday. It's 2:30 Central Eastern Time. And we are ready for another beautiful live stream with all of you. So let's dive into the market, see what is going on, and what potential pairs we can get to trading. I've already seen something move very, very clean. If you were actually very paying attention, if you were very attentive this morning to the daily market outlook, you should know what nice price action we've been seeing as of this morning. Now I'm going to lock in the camera here on the left bottom of the screen. I hope you guys like the fresh cut. It's all special for you. You know. No, joking, guys. I'm just fucking around a little bit. Do you apply sea salt spray on your hair? No, I do not. What's up, guys? Yes. Sandro knows. George knows. GBP bloody USD. The train is going in towards the downside, and I know a lot of you are milking that thing. So I'm very happy to hear. New York volume is coming into the markets, and guys, oof. GBPUSD. It is absolutely good. I'm in. Beam. I see Buddy is in. I see Judd is in. Fantastic, guys. Yeah, I mean, we should have done a bloody pre-New York stream today, because the volume has already come into the markets pre-New York and has actually already provided the entry. Otherwise, I would have taken an entry here live on stream. But we can very clearly see how the market has manipulated the overall Asian range high. And after taking out that high and taking out all of these descending highs, what are we then waiting for? We're waiting for the fractal break, and then the fractal break in towards the downside, stops above the highs, and you should be in some good profits already, back down towards the lows. You guys know we called it in the market outlook, so I'm happy for all of you who took it. For who are not in, we're going to discuss it here on stream, so don't worry. But again, GBPUSD, guys, absolute beautiful week again in regards to price action here for GBPUSD. So before we dive into anything else, we need to talk about GBPUSD first of all. Now, before I dive in, make sure to leave a like, because again, we are sharing the free value as always here on stream, taking out another hour of my day to have some fun with the best community and team here on the internet, which is you guys, obviously enjoying it all. But just make sure to leave a like, as that is always appreciated. Now, for the market itself and for GBPUSD, what has been going on? Just absolutely clean stuff, guys. Last night, whilst I was playing some Call of Duty together with Jimmy, we were already discussing GBPUSD shorts is the trade of today. Now, obviously, in the market outlook this morning, and guys, if you do not yet watch the market outlooks, make sure to do so. They're free. They're on YouTube. They're extremely valuable. It's called the Trading Academy Market Updates. It's the YouTube channel. You can check it out there. But guys, we talked you through it. As I said, I was favoring GBPUSD, and the trade has been here. So let's talk you guys through it and why you could have shorted GBPUSD today and taken a beautiful short that is now in profits. And yes, George, but Battlefield is going to be out soon. Definitely going to be playing that as well. Now, for GU, guys, the most beautiful piece of price action in towards the upside came with the 1, the 2, and then the 3rd overall high, which came into a massive point of liquidity. Now, guys, this is the most underrated part of the entire strategy, because it's so actually easy if you really think about it, in the sense that all we're actually doing is marking out swing highs and swing lows, and then looking for reversals from those points as we, let's say, assume that there is liquidity and that they will cause an overall reversal. Now, what we had here was obviously a massive pump in towards the downside, right? So what you want to do in these kind of situations is that you want to mark out pretty much every single bump in the road, right? So here, for example, you have a bump in the road, right? So that's this little high over here. And as you can see, once we take out that high, we see the change of character. There was a massive downside push happening. Now, once again, we've taken out the next bump in the road, which is this one over here. Now, after taking out that bump in the road, which is very simply said, just an overall liquidity high, we can see that the market did a beautiful, beautiful downside push here on the daily, because it came exactly in towards that overall swing high with the overall ascending channel, which matured thanks to the third trendline touch. Then we see the impulsive phase, which is this green zone in towards the downside. Then, guys, what do we do when we look at the overall downside push? We mark out the bumps in the road, the liquidity points. So we have liquidity point number 1 and we have liquidity point number 2. Now, I even at the time considered this to be a liquidity point as well. This sadly did not yet, or didn't give me a reaction at the time. But now, as we can see, within this liquidity point and this liquidity point, there has been opportunity. Now, after taking out the first liquidity point, we remember that there was a 4-hour change of character, which a lot of us capitalized on. Here, literally at the top, 4-hour change of character in towards the downside, retest of that supply zone, and a massive, massive dump in towards the downside, which yielded me some very good returns at the time. Now, looking at the current price action that we have here on GU, once again, what do we come into? We come into an overall liquidity high, which is the very first high of all of these descending highs. So then, once again, we do not use this, all of them as liquidity highs. No, we mainly just focus on the major bump in the road, which is that high itself, which is the beginning of the overall trend line. And as we can see, we take out that overall trend line. And then what do we want to see? We want to see the 4-hour change of character. Now, again, what happens? Change of character in towards the upside, change of character in towards the downside. So here we had the 4-hour fractal break in towards the downside. I was talking to Jimmy and we were saying, okay, this is now the overall supply zone that we want to look for a potential short inside of. Now we go to the lower time frame. And again, guys, you know that we talk about this shit every single day. What do we then do? We look at the 15-minute swing structure, for example, because that is how simple you can kind of make it. Break of structure up, then here, break of structure down. For everybody who always complains I don't trade the 50-minute enough, this is the perfect trade breakdown. This is the overall swing structure. Guys, the 0.5 fib. Yes! The 0.5 fib gets absolutely tapped, smashed, kissed, smooched like this to absolute perfection. And we hit that 0.5 fib to the absolute T, guys. And what do we see? We have over here the overall bump in the road. Again, this is a liquidity point and this over here is a liquidity point. So we have, again, 2 liquidity points. We just mark out those points and it's literally as simple as 1, trading with the overall trend, 2, waiting for price to come into that liquidity point, and then 3, we wait for the confirmation. We don't sit there as idiots waiting for the overall 618 fib to get hit and then for a bearish candlestick. Do I enter? Do I not enter? No. What do we wait for? We wait for that 0.5 fib to get smooched like this. Then we wait for the change of character to happen like this. Change of character, high break, change of character, high break, change of character, high break. And then boom, as soon as it gets kissed like that, the little French smooch, the little French kiss, boom, what do we see? We've taken out liquidity, we get the change of character, and then we sell off in towards the downside. Stop loss above the highs, and you're now running at a peak of 1 to 2 risk to reward. Guys, what can I say? Literally, we discussed this morning in the market outlook, and this is how we make money, guys. And everybody is capitalizing on this stuff, and that is what makes me so extremely happy, because I'm seeing you guys in the chat. I also received a lot of messages. That's why I'm so extremely joyful. I received a lot of messages from you guys on Discord. Fabio, I took the setup thanks to you, and I'm just so happy that you guys did it. Why is your back color indifferent? Please replay. Not sure what you mean. So guys, fantastic to see that setup overall there on GU played out. This is literally how simple you want it. And we can see that this is very similar to the overall trade, right, that we had on USD CHF, where again, we also just wait. Remember at the time, and now I'm kind of going to a very different setup, but at the time as well, we have the overall impulse in towards the downside. What do you then do? You mark out the overall liquidity point here, and then you get the change of character, and then boom, you sell off in towards the downside, literally like that. And then back at the time, what got kissed? Again, a French fucking kiss to the absolute perfection, 0.5 fib, change of character, and that is how we do it. Okay, guys, we have Lupit, who's just going to be fucking banned for spamming the overall chat. Love you guys. So sorry for the language again, but I'm just so happy, man, because this is the kind of price action that we want to see. And GU beautiful, man. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So this is obviously then where the money could be made today. Furthermore, looking at the other pairs where money was to be made, let's have a quick look at EURUSD, just update you guys on that. Euro is selling off, but Euro was not my preferred pair to take a short on just because of the difference in overall market structure. Obviously, from an overall swing perspective, EURUSD has been swing bullish. But again, remember, we did not yet make a overall connection with this demand zone over here, which is the sub for the big buy up. So then what we see here is that price just comes back down and is most likely going to push down a little bit lower. But overall, EURUSD is still a lot more bullish than when we look at a GBPUSD, which is a lot more bearish if we look at the overall swing structure here. So that's why I wasn't really looking at trading EURUSD, but mainly focusing on GBPUSD. Furthermore, looking at AUDUSD. What can we see over there? Has been selling off as well from this overall area of supply. To be honest, very clean price action as well. Didn't give it kind of like a 50-minute change of character that you would have wanted to see here, with this being the bump in the road and this being here the bump in the road. Didn't really give the 50-minute change of character, so no trade for AUDUSD. Praveen for the fractal indicator, you can check out the description of this video. It's inside the description. NZD USD is now pretty much ready to continue shorting. Overall, we can see here that NZD USD had the push down. And then again, guys, look, what I freaking love about this strategy is that it's so simple. Because look, if you see this, for example, as an impulse down, again, what do? We mark out the bump in the road. We take out the bump in the road, and then we continue in towards the downside. As simple as that. Now, once again, here we have the overall impulse in towards the downside. We mark out the overall bump in the road. The bump in the road here got taken out, which is 4-hour swing structure. Right, so within this overall impulse down, and we've talked about this again on Tuesday as well, so you can watch back Tuesday's stream. We have the overall impulse in towards the downside. We have the overall swing high here at the top. We have the overall swing low here at the bottom. This here is the bump in the road, which is acting as liquidity. So we need to wait for at least that liquidity to get taken out. Then what do we see happening? We see an internal uptrend back in towards the highs. And now the overall order flow has shifted, what I was waiting for, because this overall here, sell before the buy up, that has now been broken. Therefore, now this here is the buy before the sell. And if price does retrace in towards the upside, we can look for another shorting opportunity here on NZD USD in towards the downside. Furthermore, guys, USD JPY, what is happening? The thing is rocketing up in towards the upside, flying like a crazy rocket towards that ugly banana here that I've just drawn on the screen. I'm trying to draw the moon, but it looks more like a banana. Again, flying in towards the upside after what happened. Team, remember what we were talking about on the last streams as well. USD JPY has been trading in a range. Now, what do we do when price is trading within an overall range? We mark out the overall market structure using the range trading tool. Now, as simple as this, we mark out the overall highest high, we mark out the overall lowest low. Again, for the fib settings, it's a 0.25 and the 0.75, and I like making the line a little bit thicker for you. And what we can see is that initially when the range was smaller, right? So the range over here is smaller. What do? All you're simply doing is marking out the overall, and again, like even if we go more back in towards the past, what you're kind of doing is that when you see that the market starts to consolidate, we just mark out the overall range low here, and what do? We mark out the overall range high. Now, what happens here on USD JPY is that when you press play, look, the overall range low gets swept. So now what do? We mark out this here as the range low. So now what do we see happening? The overall range high will get swept in a second, and then the overall downside push comes. So this is now the overall range high again. Now, again, continue pressing play. And what do we see? We see again, range high gets taken out. And then what do we wait for? We wait for the overall change of character. This is a change of character low. Change of character low gets broken. Price then retests the overall supply zone that is then created. And then price sells off back in towards the downside. Now, from that moment onwards, what is then the overall target? Obviously, the overall liquidity low over here. Once that liquidity low gets taken out, what do we then look for? We look for the reversal back in towards the upside. Because guys, price is consolidating. And when price is consolidating, you join the range trading tool. When price is trading at this 25% fib level, we look for buys, as simple as that. Now, what we see in the middle of the range, don't be an idiot, don't get scammed by the markets, and don't fuck yourself. stay out of the market. We stick to the overall extreme ranges, which is the 25% level and the 75% level. And what do we see happening, guys? The market then dumps exactly in towards where? In towards the overall liquidity low. And then once that liquidity low gets taken out, what do we see? We see a change of character in towards the upside. Theoretically speaking, you could have then taken a long. Now, I don't like this long completely because the stop loss is so absolutely massive. But let's say theoretically that the wick was here. Then again, you could have taken a long back in towards the upside because of the fact that we still have a lot of descending highs open here. And what you see happening, the market is now shooting up and reversing back in towards the upside, back towards the full 75% of the range. Now, as simple as that, that is then going to be your next target here on the Japanese or on the dollar against the Japanese yen, with still a lot of descending highs open. So for me, USD JPY, obviously it's trading in no man's land in the sense that it's in the middle of the overall range where price can just chop around, but it makes more sense to continue pushing in towards the upside, as that is pretty much how a range works. You go from the overall range low back up in towards the overall range high. Now, just to quickly check in on GBPUSD, the thing is just falling like an absolute rocket. Oh my gosh, I love her. Yeah, congrats on the UJ buys if you took that. That was also an amazing trade. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. So I see somebody was asking a lot about EuroCAD. We can quickly dive into EuroCAD for you. Looking at EuroCAD has been selling off a little bit. EuroCAD is obviously extremely bullish. There's no real reason to short this. I would only be looking for longs. I do see that we have quite a lot of liquidity open underneath this low here. So personally, I would only be looking for longs once that overall low here gets taken out. And then I would look for reaccumulation, maybe a connection with this overall kind of like order block here, and then wait for the market momentum to shift again. Obviously, at any point in time, it can continue up moving higher. But for me, it's not kind of like at a good area of value, as preferably you would want to see it move back down towards the overall discount of the range and take out the overall liquidity low, which is here underneath the 0.5 fib. So that's kind of like how I would be looking at EuroCAD. Looking towards Euro AUD, what can we see there? So Euro AUD has a lot of liquidity still open above these overall descending highs. For myself, it doesn't really make sense to short it as we're currently in the overall impulsive phase here. So obviously we had an overall impulse in towards the highs, retracement, and now we're in the impulsive phase once again. Now, a lot of you are probably looking at Euro AUD and telling yourself, hey, Fabio, here I have a break of structure up, here I have a break of structure down, and now I see a supply zone over here from where I want to short. Now, for me, this personally just doesn't work and how I would view Euro AUD at the moment, because I personally see Euro AUD as being bullish ultimately. So the way that I would look at this here is I would say, okay, instead of looking at this from a market structure perspective, for me, it's more kind of like a range where this was the overall range and now this here is the overall range. So what I'm now looking to see here from Euro AUD is for us to continue pushing in towards the upside. And after what did we do? Raid the overall range low that we had over here, the overall liquidity low, right? So now we're just looking for this continuing towards the highs. And also, if you look here, and especially on the 4-hour time frame, you can see the amount of kind of like descending highs that we have here. I want to see all of those get taken out pretty much. Doesn't really look good for me personally to be selling this, although I understand why you would be looking at a sell. For me, yeah, we're just more bullish on the higher time frame, and for me, I kind of view this more as a range where, yeah, I would therefore not really be a fan of looking for sells. I do understand if you are looking for sells, but it's personally just not my trade. You would probably look at this as a liquidity high, this is a supply zone, and then look for the change of character, but it's just not my cup of tea. But yeah, you could look at it. Monthly open, still open, 3 monthly open. So yeah, if you do take a short, like, I would wait for it to push a little bit higher, maybe take out this high over here and then give you kind of like a change of character, and then you could take a short-term short, but it's not an ideal trade in my opinion from more, let's say, the way that I look at the markets where I really want to get in on the overall impulsive phases, like a NZD JPY. Now, remember NZD JPY on Tuesday where we were trading over here. So since Tuesday, we've made around a 90 pip drop. Has anybody traded NZD JPY, guys, with any success? Because that ultimately has been the best pair to trade in my opinion. Looking here at NZD JPY again, you guys know it pretty much. The whole breakdown remains pretty much the same, where we've seen an overall swing high here, an overall swing low here, and what the market then did was that it retraced to where? Towards this bump in the road, took out the bump in the road, and then obviously the order flow remained bullish until here at some point in let's say Tuesday evening, we broke the overall low here, retested the free monthly open, and from there we made another beautiful sell-off in towards the downside. So some nice shorts. Yeah, I see Dom obviously profiting on shorts on NZD JPY. Naom, fantastic. James, fantastic, guys. I recovered from drawdown. Good stuff, Benjamin. Vladislav as well, a 60 pip profit on NZD JPY. So yeah, you guys see it. Obviously, I'm not kind of like the 1 minute scalper for you here, but we do kind of highlight the overall bigger moves that can potentially play out. So I'm happy to hear that you guys have been able to make some money on NZD JPY. So W in the chat for you guys. Fantastic stuff. Now, Samyak, gold. Let's have a look at gold. So could you explain the entry model one more time for gold on the 1 hour, 4 hour, 50 minute, 5 minute entry? Your shorts quite literally changed my life. Thank you. Very happy to hear that, Forex Sniper. Yeah, so looking at gold in itself, obviously gold is still bullish. We've come back down towards the weekly open where we found some form of support at the moment. So for gold, I'm looking for more upside and for more longs personally. I wouldn't really be looking at any shorts. We've retraced back down in towards this overall area of demand, so this area of consolidation. As we can see, the 4 hour change of character has taken place as well. We've come back down towards the weekly open, which is always a good sign. So from here, I would preferably be looking for a potential next drive in towards the upside for gold. It's not the cleanest of charts, and it's not personally a pair that I'm trading at the moment actively, but it does look like it has reaccumulated in order to make that next push up higher. Let's have a look at AUD-CHF. I see some questions on that, and then we'll have a look at GBPUSD as well. So when it comes to AUD-CHF, AUD-CHF has now rejected the overall monthly open. Looking at this, and let's just quickly zoom out, okay? So looking at AUD-CHF, and let me just turn off the indicators to make the chart nice and clean for you. We can see here that we have had a pretty clear break in towards the upside. Now, I talked about AUD-CHF from a liquidity perspective where we kind of like rated this overall low, and then we rated this overall high, and then we sell off in towards the downside. Now, within this overall, let's say, bigger impulse, because let's say this is the overall impulsive phase, it seems to be that we're currently in the overall pullback phase. Now, within that pullback phase, when is the pullback then over? Well, we look at two things. We look at what? Liquidity and a change of character. So this here for me is a liquidity low, and this here for me would be, let's say, a liquidity low. Now, with the first initial liquidity low, no real reaction. So we've come back down towards the overall second liquidity low, and also if we look at this from let's say a bigger swing, we can also see that the market has pretty much exactly retraced into what? In towards the 0.5 fib, and that also aligns with what? With the overall monthly open. So the monthly open is naturally going to be an area of support where the market has potential to fly up higher. What I'm currently looking for is just a little bit more of a candle close. I want to see a little bit of a stronger 4 hour candle close. This for me is not very strong. Let's see if we can maybe get another big and strong breakout in towards the upside, and then see this as a real area of demand to then look for potential long opportunities. That's the way that I would look at it. It seems that risk on sentiment. So what do I mean with risk on? It means that we are seeing, for example, the Australian dollar, the New Zealand dollar to a certain extent. New Zealand dollar obviously sold off pretty hard last night, but mainly the Australian dollar has been performing relatively well, and we've also seen some form of strength from the Canadian dollar as well. US 30 has also bought in towards the upside. US 30 now selling off here on New York Open. Let's keep an eye on that. Let me just quickly check. Yeah, okay. So US 30 is currently selling off here on New York Open in towards the downside. So what I would be looking here for a US 30 is, for example, for it to liquidate some lows. So what do I mean with liquidating some lows? Well, for example, this low over here. So we want to see a strong push, and then we want to see a change of character to then again look for another next drive up higher. So yeah, no longs from this current demand zone. Needs to drop a little bit lower, but then I would be looking for an overall next longing opportunity. Thoughts on USD-CHF longs? I'm not sure what you guys think of USD-CHF. Personally, for me, it's a little bit too aggressive. It makes sense to obviously look for an upside push. However, if we look at this, what are we trading this on? We're trading this based on a liquidity grab. So the overall liquidity grab has taken place here, right? So we grabbed the overall major swing low, and we're now seeing price retrace back up in towards the daily order flow, which is very simply said, the overall buy before the sell down. Free monthly open, which is a key level of support and a key level most likely of resistance, is now in the way. So I personally am not interested in taking any USD CHF longs. I would only be interested, for example, at a later phase scaling into a GBPUSD overall short position, which is rocketing in towards the downside. Absolute beautiful, beautiful scenes, guys. My gosh, what a position this was, GBPUSD. So GBPUSD, yeah, that is kind of like the position that you then want to be scaling into if this were now to gain some more momentum and see a stronger downside continuation. This is a pair that if you are then looking at longing the overall US dollar, you want to be longing shorting a GBPUSD and not necessarily longing a USD CHF, as USD CHF is nearing the free monthly open and is still extremely bearish, much more bearish than, let's say, GBPUSD is bullish, right? So then for me, GBPUSD would kind of like be the position. Now, final TP for GBPUSD, that's impossible to say, Sanush. It depends obviously on what time frame you've entered. If you've entered now on the 15-minute time frame, then obviously here you pretty much have your 1 to 3 at the overall next low. And then for GU, no, I'm not looking to get into shorts at this very moment. I'm looking now for the next 4-hour candle close to take place, which is going to take place in 37 seconds. And then what do I want to see? I want to see the next candlestick follow through as well. And then again, you form a beautiful buy before the sell, where then again tomorrow or in towards, tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow and in towards next week, we can look for more shorting opportunities there on GBPUSD. On GBPUSD, Euro AUD, Dan is asking, doesn't the impulsive phase end though, Fab, when you see a 4-hour fractal break chalk? Therefore, if we had a change of character on Euro AUD at the monthly open after taking liquidity, would this change your mind? No, not really. Looking here at Euro AUD, the thing just is with me is that it's extremely consolidated. For me, this is just kind of like a range where we've taken, let's say, the range high, we've taken the range low, and price is just kind of like reaccumulating inside of this green box before then making the next big move up. So for me, it's too risky to look for a sell on Euro AUD. For myself, I would definitely prefer some other pairs above that. Now, when it comes to GBPUSD, GBPUSD is a pair that I would rather sell than a Euro AUD, because GBPUSD has been in a pullback phase for a pretty long time. This is like the overall impulse up, and we're now within the overall pullback phase, or we have been in the overall pullback phase for a very long time. Now, as you guys know, the next kind of like long phase often starts once you take out a massive liquidity low. So for myself, what I'm looking for here is for this overall low to be swept on GBPUSD before looking for a much bigger buy. So I'm looking for that yearly open to get hit, and therefore for some intraday shorts still on GBPUSD to take place. Now, for myself, the next possible shorting opportunity, because look, again, when we look here at GA, we can look at this as the overall impulse in towards the downside. So then again, what do we do within the overall impulse in towards the downside? We mark out the overall liquidity point. So for me here, there's a liquidity point. For me here, there's a liquidity point, and then you have the high itself as a liquidity point. So from one of these three lows, you want to be looking for potential shorting opportunity. Now, when it comes to GBPUSD, we can very clearly see that there was an initial reaction here. It gave initial lower time frame confirmation, I think, as well on the 15, but it never really went through or followed through. So that's a clear stop loss hit. And then the overall order flow for now still remains bullish. So for GBPUSD, it really needs to kick in with some bearish momentum. I'm looking for kind of like a candle close underneath the overall order flow, so then look for example, for a short position. But preferably at this point in time, I would like to see one more drive up on GA in towards this overall high here, and then again look for the overall change of character to then take potential shorting opportunity. So that's how I would view GBPUSD at the moment. Now, EURUSD, just to give you guys a little bit more clarity on that, for me, EURUSD is like not very interesting to take a trade on personally, just because of the fact that the daily overall order flow is still bullish, right? So EURUSD from a swing perspective is still bullish, and also from a fractal perspective is still bullish. So we need to wait for EURUSD to sell off further before we can look at any new potential longing opportunities. And if we were to look for a potential shorting opportunity, you would need to wait also for slightly more confirmation. Now, looking at EURUSD, for me, it makes sense to fall through the floor quite a bit more. I am looking for it to trade a lot lower. To be very honest, I'm looking for it to retrace at least all the way back down to around 1.15. Now, let's see if this happens. This is kind of like a lower probability play. It's kind of more like what I would like to see, because of the fact that EURUSD is still so bullish. So I don't want to be kind of like shorting and trying to call the top here. Like, what I love doing is I like trading with the momentum and not against the momentum. And obviously the momentum has been in towards the upside. So am I then going to try and call a top like here, or maybe here and maybe here? Or am I just going to wait for a clear trend shift and then get in on the overall momentum? That's probably what I'll be doing there. DXY, guys, DXY. Yeah, GBPUSD falls, guys. Man, of course it's falling. What do you want me to check now? Like, it's pretty much hit all of your TPs if you were in that intraday position. So congrats. Going into the DXY obviously, like, this is the definition of how much I love the 3 monthly levels, guys. The 3 monthly level is just such a beautiful thing out there. It liquidates that 3 monthly level to absolute perfection, and it just reverses in towards the upside. Now, what I'm waiting for here, because for me, the dollar, it makes so much sense to push up higher, guys. Makes so much sense. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my game plan for the dollar with you guys now in the next 1 minute, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the fractal structure shift to take place. The fractal structure shift takes place on the high of this bullish candle. Once that high breaks with a candle close, I'm going to be looking to long the dollar back up in towards the highs, okay? That is what I'm going to be looking for, with my first target being this liquidity high over here, and my second target being this liquidity high over here. Now, what does that mean? Where can we then make a shit ton of money altogether? We are going to make money on GBPUSD shorts, and we're going to make money on NZD shorts, okay? Those are the two main things. If NZD doesn't already sink to the bottom of the fucking sea without us. But then we always have GBPUSD still in the back of our minds, guys. GBPUSD still has a long way to go, obviously, if the dollar does actually start flying, okay? So let's just wait for that confirmation to take place. Another potential position is also AUD, which is obviously already seen kind of like a 4-hour change of character. However, I just really like GBPUSD a little bit more from a market structure perspective. Makes a lot more sense. So kind of like the play that I just explained here, where this then is the buy before the sell. That is then the overall trade that I want to be taking in towards the downside, okay? So GU for me is the ultimate play if the dollar decides to change fractal structure on the daily time frame, okay? And then the first target will be the brittle line, and the second target will be the over liquidity high of the 1st of August, which is an NFP high and therefore a weak high. And then we would have the best range play in the history of bloody range plays. Everybody passes challenges, gets payouts, and we all make money together, okay? That is the overall goal. Now, let's see it happen. Let's make it happen. Let's pass some challenges together, and let's all be happy, okay? But what I need you guys to show me is patience, okay? I don't want to see some people hitting stop loss on Euro AUD or on a Euro Swiss. Guys, Euro Swiss, Euro CAD, all those kind of like shitty pairs. Focus on the dollar only until you become profitable, guys. Then after that, you will make so much money. Watch the daily market updates with me, and then we just long this, because the dollar looks prime, guys. The dollar really looks prime. Obviously, we still have supply in our way, so the supply zone can still push the market down lower. But if we are to break that fractal high, guys, we have so much liquidity to grab. All of those descending highs here, all of those descending highs, those are then going to be grabbed. And then potentially also that NFP high. That is where the serious money is going to be made. But you need to have patience, because a lot of people already get into they see this candlestick here and they start getting itchy hands, right? They start getting itchy hands. Even me, myself, last night, I was very aware of it. And I was speaking to Jimmy about it, right, guys? You all know Jimmy. About, hey, Jimmy, I want to really sell the living hell out of GBPUSD. But we were telling each other, okay, look, if the dollar index actually breaks the overall fractal high, and has the potential to take out this liquidity high and this liquidity high, then there is going to be a lot of money to be made. Okay, so let's be patient. Let's be patient. We just want to make sure that this is not just kind of like, let's say, for example, because look, this could be, for example, a bump in the road over here, and then we just see like the overall change of character take place once the high gets taken out, and then we sell off. So let's really wait for kind of like a strong breakout, and then we can kind of like look for the overall continuation trade from that monthly open. Okay, so into next week, that is where I see a lot of potential for this trade to kind of like come into fruition. Now looking at gold was doing something you guys were saying, selling off. Yeah, I mean, selling off slowly. Yeah, what can I say? Yeah, it's not really something at the moment that I'm very happy to look to trade. I want to see kind of like another breakup, and then I'll look for a long once this kind of like is confirmed to be demand. Now, Samyak is asking a very good question, guys, but won't a rate cut make the dollar weaker? Yes, the rate cuts make the dollar weaker. However, the dollar is already very weak. The dollar is already very weak. And if we look, traditionally speaking, at the seasonality of the dollar index, and what do I mean with the seasonality without kind of like sounding like I'm some kind of science teacher? I'm just Fabio here on the live stream with you guys. The seasonality is in the sense that from September in towards the end of the year, you will often start seeing the dollar start to rally. It's pretty much when the dollar tends to start bottoming out. Okay, so most of the times at the beginning of the year, like for example here back in 2011, you see a sell-off. Back in the beginning of 2012, you see a sell-off. Back in the beginning of 2013, we see a sell-off. And then kind of like towards the end of the year, price tends to bottom out. Here back in February all the way into, what was it, like May, we saw pretty much a sell-off. Now, obviously here again at the beginning of the year of 2017, we saw a sell-off. So the sell-offs on the dollar tend to happen at the beginning of the year, and then towards the end of the year, that's kind of like when we start to see a potential kind of like reversal. And now, especially when I then talk into relationship with what goes on with Trump and mainly his presidency, and we look at his previous presidency back in 2016, you guys know it. I've talked about this a lot on many streams. This here was the year before his presidency. Then the manipulation in towards the highs is when he became president, and then his first year was the distribution in towards the downside, where towards the end of the year the market started to finally bottom out, and then at the beginning of 2018, that's when the market started rallying again. So I'm kind of looking for the same thing now to happen. We've already seen a drop here on the dollar index of around 12.7%, and back in his first term of president, it was around a 14% drop. So I don't see the dollar dropping a lot more, and that's why I'm saying like there's going to be a lot of potential to swing the dollar potentially back up after liquidating this low. So let's see how this weekly candle closes. If it closes bullish, I definitely see there to be potential for us to kind of like see kind of like, yeah, a strong rally back in towards the highs, but it will be dependent on what's going to be happening in the next few weeks. Is it hot there in Amsterdam? No, we have an air conditioning which is absolutely freezing in this office. That's why. No, by the way, what the fuck am I saying? It's raining outside, so it's actually pretty cold in Amsterdam, especially in the mornings. That's why I wear a coat. But yeah, I hope I'm allowed to justify myself why I'm wearing a coat. And here in the office, it's very cold because we put the air conditioning at like 19 degrees to stay awake. So yeah, let's see. That's for it for the dollar. Am I in any trades at the moment? No. I got out of those dollar positions and I'm pretty much done for the month of September, like I already said. So I'm mainly just seeing you guys enjoy those positions like GBPUSD. Really happy to see you guys taking these positions. GBPUSD has now hit the low. So absolute beautiful scenes, man. So happy, man. So happy. No, I didn't see Young Boy when he was out here in Amsterdam. I wasn't even aware that he was in Amsterdam, to be very honest. So yeah, that's pretty much that. Let's keep an eye on GU. I think AU potentially has some shorts on the table as well. For the rest, let's have a quick check in. GCAD has been selling off pretty strong. The Canadian dollar has been relatively strong. Yeah, GCAD has some potential to still sell off in towards the downside. What else are we looking at, guys? I mean, for the rest, I don't see too many interesting pairs if I'm very honest. Euro Swiss is kind of like at the lower bound of the range. Yeah, I mean, Euro Swiss might have some potential to fly up again in the near future. And USD JPY, yeah, that thing is flying like a rocket. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, pretty much just waiting for the market to reaccumulate. I think CADCHF could become an interesting long, and I think NZD JPY remains a pretty interesting short opportunity. Let's see what price does when it comes back in towards this supply zone over here. From that supply zone, we could potentially look for a short, and yeah, then I'll focus on GU. So Daniel saying GBPUSD has been twisting my brain since yesterday to the extent I couldn't sleep more than 3 hours looking for answers why GA would be a short instead of a long. That's a good question. Let's have a quick look at GA again. Why GA should be short instead of long? Because the overall direct momentum is bearish, but I mean, once we start breaking back up in towards the highs, like for me, I would just love to see the yearly open get hit and for this overall liquidity low to get taken, and then to look for potential longs again. Fabio, love from Hong Kong, halfway through my 10k challenge on the GU short and the USD CAD shorts from days ago. That's what I want to hear, guys. Yeah, I mean, look, guys, at the end of the day, you have to also kind of like look at it from this perspective. The markets have given us so much. I mean, we've had beautiful GU shorts today. Last week, we obviously had beautiful USD yen shorts. So remember at the beginning of September from here, on the 3rd of September, we had the beautiful USD JPY shorts. We had even a beautiful USD CAD shorts here from the top. We've had USD CHF shorts also from here. So the markets have given us so much. So it's not very strange that I'm actually, to be honest, only looking at GBPUSD for this / upcoming week, together with an NZD JPY and a, let me think, yeah, pretty much that. And then some crypto longs. I mean, some crypto longs when it matures. So I would just keep my eyes open for some crypto longs. Yeah. Crypto longs, guys. So I'm looking for some more upside on Ethereum. I'm looking for some more upside on XRP. I still see that to be potential longs on those, and for the stock market as well. You can see that, as we discussed at the beginning of the session, that US 30 has now taken out the overall liquidity low. So we're back at the overall daily open, and we can start looking for a long back in towards the upside once the momentum starts to shift. So a very strong sell-off back down in towards the Asia lows. And then we can start looking for long positions very, very soon again, in my opinion, on these stocks as well. So keep an eye open on indices for potential longs, okay? That's what I would be doing myself. No financial advice. There's one more thing that I want to show you guys, and that's German 40. German 40 has come back down towards, again, a massive liquidity low, straight away V-shaped reversal. Once this thing, guys, finally starts gearing up a little bit, breaking above the 3 monthly and the monthly, this is also a free long opportunity where you can make some free money in this green zone. So wait for German 40 to get into the green zone and then look for potential longs on that. Brother, would you give your different fib settings so I could copy paste it? Yeah, sure. I mean, this is the overall premium versus discount tool, as simple as that. And then obviously we also use the range trading tool, which is as simple as this. Guys, thanks so much. I'm dropping updates on the central banks inside Discord, so make sure to join there. Link is in the description of this video. We have an update coming on the Japanese central bank, the UK central bank, and as well on the dollar, on the Fed. So I'll be dropping those, and for the rest, I mean, I'm waiting for some more GU shorts and then potentially some crypto longs, some NZD JPY shorts, and some indice longs as well, when the prices get to the specific levels or show us what we kind of like need to look for longs, right? So let's wait and see, and yeah, once that happens, let's make some money. But you guys know kind of like the potential longer term play that we have on the table, which is that GBPUSD short, which is for me pretty much the main focus for the upcoming period. If the dollar gives me the price action that I want, if the dollar tends to reject from the current supply zone, then I'll be focusing more on some USD CHF short positions. Now, again, make sure to watch the daily market outlook, because then you would have been informed on the fact that GBPUSD was going to be ready to look for a sell. And then I wish you all a fantastic, fantastic day, and see you guys inside Discord. Yeah, send you all a lot of love and happiness, and just thanks for being here again, guys. Appreciate it massively. Thanks, guys.